and welcome to the Polettirosa Homestead. Today I thought I would show you how to make some whole wheat honey bread. So let's get started. First you want to try to get all your ingredients together. It makes it so much easier if you have it all out and all ready to go. So we're going to start off with 1.5 cups of warm water. Then we're going to start out with 3 teaspoons of yeast, 1.5 tablespoons of honey, 3/4 of a cup of flour, 1.5 teaspoons of olive oil, 3 teaspoons of salt, and you need up to 6 cups of flour. And I will explain later on what up to 6 cups of flour mean. So the first thing we need to do is we need to sift our flour. So in this container I have my whole wheat flour, my white all-purpose flour. So let's get in and let's sift some flour. I have one of the old-fashioned sifters. You could have one that you press the handle and it sifts it for you, but this is the one I have. Sifting it just makes it a lot more viable and easier to use. It takes out any of those lumps that may be in it. I don't know if you can see it, but on the bottom I have some little things. Okay, so now I have my sifted flour together. We're not going to do the whole wheat flour just yet, okay? So first we want to start proofing our yeast. What that means is you don't want to make the whole loaf of bread and then find out it was dense because the flour was not, sometimes I can be, that the yeast was not active. So how you're going to do that is you are going to combine your water, your sweetener, which is your honey, and your yeast together. And I'm just using Red Star, the Quick Rise Instant Yeast. And let me get out a like I said, you need 3 teaspoons of yeast, which I want to make sure there's 3 teaspoons in the little package. I don't think there's going to be 1, 2, oh there is, 3. And what you're going to do is you're going to mix that together. What you're going to do is you're going to let it sit for about 10 to 15 minutes to make sure it's bubbly. Okay, so we will be back in about 10 to 15 minutes, a lot sooner for you, and let's see what it looks like. Okay, it's been the 10 minutes, and as you can see, all the white around there, it's all foamy. So what that means is your yeast was active. So that's a good thing. So your next step, what you're gonna do is called mixing your dough. What you're gonna do is you're gonna add your olive oil, your salt. I'm sorry, I wish I had a bowl that was clear that you could see as I'm going what I'm doing. And you want to get your sifted flour. And what you're going to do is you're going to mix that well. Okay, we're going to do that step, and then what we're going to do next is we're going to take our flour, our 6 cups of our flour, and take a good portion of it and sift it well. After I get done doing that, because that may take a few minutes, I will come right back on. Okay, I've sifted my flour. So now what I'm going to do is before I put the flour in, I am going to take my yeast and pour it into that mixture that had the yeast, the water, and the honey in it. Now the part is to see how much dough do you really need. So what you're going to do is you're going to be adding, I would say somewhere around a half a cup of flour to your mixture at a time. And what you want to do is you want to keep working it. You know when you've added enough flour when the bowl becomes clean, but your mixture, your flour mixture, your dough is still tacky. Okie doke. So, one moment. Get a spoon. What I usually do is I usually take this little ladle and I put in about 3 scoops and work it. And as you can see how my sides and everything, it's not coming clean. So I didn't add enough flour yet. There is no exact recipe to give you on what you need on flour. To make the perfect bread, everybody is different. Every time is different. Again, you can see the bowl is not coming clean when I'm doing it. It's sticking to the sides. So you know what that means. Gotta add more flour. You could do smaller amounts right now. I'll go down to 2. Because it does get a little bit harder to use. For purposes, you can use an electric mixer. Normally I would have done that, but since I'm showing you, I wanted to be able to show you not using the electric mixer because it's kind of hard to show you the inside of the mixer and what it looks like. As you can see, I'm starting to stick onto my little tool that I'm using. So what I'm going to try to do now is I'm going to take all this flour out and start really using my fingers. This is the good part. Make sure you don't have any jewelry on. You want to make sure your hands are nice and clean. That's why you don't want to have jewelry on. You can see my dough is tacky, but my bowl is starting to become clean. Starting, not there yet. And that's because I haven't kneaded it enough, at least for right now. My dough is tacky. But as you're seeing, my bowl is coming clean. As I'm moving it around, there's no flour along the sides of it. But there is a little bit of dough that's sticking onto the side. So what I'm going to do is I'm only going to take a small amount, maybe 1 level scoop, put it on, and work it a little bit more. What you want to do is you want to take your flour and rub it along the side. You'll start noticing now that nothing is sticking. It's all coming off and going to but it's sticky, tacky. See, it still kind of sticks a little bit. And that's what you're looking for. Because it's so tacky, and I do have some stuff still on the bottom, I'm going to add just a little bit more. And I'm starting to see my pan coming even cleaner. You just want to add small amounts at a time because you don't want to have too much. Try just a little bit more because I do see some more on the sides. And I'm not saying it has to become like clean like you just washed it, but you don't want flour sticking to the sides of your pan. As you can see my pan, the inside, take it out. Okay, I'm going to work this part out, make sure I get it all off my fingers and get it onto the board. And I will be back on the next step. Okay, so I've got my dough on here. Now we're going to do the next step, which is called kneading. What you want to do is you want to knead it really good. What you're going to do is you're going to keep kneading it. What you want to do is you want to get that gluten active. Now you may think this takes a long time. It's not as long as you think it does. There's a test you can do, and I've learned this from one of the homesteaders I watch, that she does what's called a window pane test. And what the window pane test is you take a small piece of your dough. This is not done yet, but I'll just give you an idea. And now stretch it. It should be somewhat smooth and elasticy. If you stretch it and you could see through your window with little pieces, it's done. Mine's not smooth and elastic really yet. Hopefully you shouldn't have to, because you should have had enough flour in here. But sometimes you may have to put on your board a little bit of flour. Keep on stretching it. That's what you want to keep doing, because that's going to make the gluten active. Stretch it, put it in together. Stretch it, put it in together. Okay, I'm going to do this for a while longer, and then I'll have you come back and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Okie doke? Okay, I've been doing my bread, my dough, and as you can see, it's nice and smooth. I did that poke test, or the window pane test. Poke test is next. And I took it and I stretched this. And I could see little pieces of window pane coming through. So the next thing you want to do is what's called your first rise. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a bowl, take a paper towel or whatever you have, put some olive oil on it. And grease your bowl. Now you want to put your flour inside of it. Move it around a couple times. Okay, and just put it in there just like this. Cover it and put it in a warm space. I'm going to put mine in my oven. And you're going to come back to it often and check it. And you're going to do what's called the poke test. You'll know when the first rise is done, because what you're going to do is you're going to poke your finger into the dough. You know what? I'll show you now, even though we know it's not done. Take your flour out. Poke it. If it comes back up, which it's coming right back up right now, it's not done. So what you want to do is you want to be able to poke it with your finger, and it will stay, that poke mark will stay in there. Okie doke, so we'll be back when that's all done. Okay, stay with me, we're almost done here. Okay, I've done the first rise. I did my poke test, and it did not bounce back. See, still got the indentation. So now your next step is shaping your loaf. What you want to do is you want to go round and round. What you're going to do is you want to try to get out as many air pockets as you can, and make sure you have no cracks. Make it look pretty. That's the best way to say it. And you want to shape it. I use a glass dish, a glass loaf pan. And once you've got it really pretty, put it into your loaf pan. If you have a bottom crack, or if you have a little crack, like from moving it together, no big deal. Just put it on the bottom and just shape it to your pan. What you're going to do is you're going to do now a second rise. Exactly like the first rise, but this time it's going to be in your loaf pan and it's not going to be in another pan. You're going to do the poke test again. You should leave it in like 15-20 minutes. Sometimes it may be 30 minutes, all depends. But get it looking really nice. See? This time you want to take some plastic wrap. And cover it up. Again, put it in the same spot you did last time. I put mine again in the oven. And you're going to do the poke test again. And guess what the next step is? It's your final step. It's called baking it. What you're going to do is you're going to bake it at 375. What you're going to do is you want to put it in the middle rack of your oven. One thing I want to stress to you is you should check your temperature. I have one of these little oven temperatures. Before you put your bread in, start your oven at 375 and continue checking it until your oven temperature says 375 and stays at that for about 5 minutes. Then put your bread in on the middle rack and let it bake. And you're going to know when it's done because you're going to smell it. It's going to look fantastic. It's going to be a little bit browned on the sides. And we'll go from there. Okay, let's see what it looks like after the second rise and we're ready to put it back in the oven. Okay, I'm back. As you can see, my loaf is risen. It's actually touching the top of the plastic now. So that's ready to go. So I have another loaf pan here. That's where I actually start the bread in. And what you want to, or I should say finish the bread in. What you want to do is you want to grease this. So, get some more olive oil. I use a paper towel. Now you don't want to put a lot on. You just want to lightly grease it. You don't want any of the olive oil floating around the loaf pan. And what you're going to do, like I said, is set your oven at 375. Mine's already set. I've checked it and it stayed at 375. My oven is never correct. So that's why I have to use an oven temperature thermometer. Make sure you're getting all the cracks and crevices. And you're, like I said, you're going to put it in the oven. You're going to put it on your middle rack. Bake it at 375 for roughly 45 minutes. Oh, this is risen nice. And I just did the poke test, and as you can see, I still got the hole in it. Sorry, that was my dryer, though. And I just shape it again. Pick it up, put it in your loaf pan. Shape it in it, make it look really nice. Make sure there's no cracks. Give you a little heads up on my next video. I'm going to start well, I've already started it, but I'm going to show you a better version of planning my 2021 garden. So there it is. I got it all nice and pretty looking. And I'm going to put it in my oven. I did say the middle rack. I forgot to move it. And I'm going to put it in for 45 minutes. I'll set my timer, but I'm going to set it for 40 minutes just so that I can look at it ahead of time. But typically it takes about 45 minutes. Okay, we'll see you when it comes out. Okay, like I told you, when you start smelling the bread, it's done. So I still had 6 minutes left on my oven timer, but I don't want to overcook it. So I'm going to take it out right now. Oh, it smells so good. And look at that loaf. What more could you ask for? Smells so good. So I'm going to let it sit for just a few moments, and then I'm going to pop it out of that oven loaf, put it on a rack. I have a drying rack. Let it sit out for a few moments because it needs to cool down a little bit before you can cut it, and then we're going to enjoy some bread. It was nice talking to you today and showing you how I make my bread. Again, as always, I hope you like my channel. Give me a thumbs up. Please leave a comment. Let me know what you think. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, I hope you will. I'm enjoying doing this. And again, welcome to the Polettirosa Homestead. It was nice talking to you today, and have a great day. Bye-bye. Okay, here is the finished loaf. One thing I did was something my husband said his mom used to do, and she would take a little piece of butter, a pat of butter, put it on a paper towel, and just go over the top and sides with it. Can't wait. Shortly we're going to bite into it. Have a great day.